I'm sitting with Shannon Sedgwick Davis, who is well, I introduced you yesterday as the Christian version of Laura Croft. Accurate, inaccurate, why not? Talk about that.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say inaccurate. I've gotten to do some really adventurous things, but I sort of look at Laura Croft as sort of, if you will, a sort of a vigilante, sort of guns on the hips, just sort of blazing all out. And I wouldn't say that I'm not a vigilante. You know, we were trying to pursue justice in the case of the Lord's Resistance Army, and just got to a point where we came to a wall and we just stopped. And unless we blasted through that wall, we weren't going to get any further. And so in terms of, if you think of a vigilante in terms of someone who is trying to right a wrong, or is trying to apply pressure to right a wrong, then I would agree with that. But in terms of the sort of heroic nature of going in and saving folks, those we've partnered with some incredible people on the ground in Africa who are taking care of their own problems, and we get to play a small role alongside them. And
there's some backstory here. I want to hear some of the backstory. Did you grow up with this view that you're going to be an advocate? And if so, where did that come from? If not, what led to this change? Because obviously you're looked upon as an advocate's advocate. I mean, people really look to you in terms of your teaching, your model, etc. Where did that come from?
Yeah, you know, I definitely believe that that we are all created to serve a specific purpose in the world, and I do think I was very fortunate to find that at a young age. And I think justice has always been what's made my heart beat fast and beat a little faster. Growing up, I grew up in a Christian home, and my mom was the youth pastor of our church, and so we would spend time doing missions on the border and doing different mission trips and serving others. And that was great exposure in terms of learning how to serve and how to be a good servant. But it was also incredibly important, I think, in terms of honing what made my heart beat fast. And so the specific things, we would maybe go paint a house, if you will, on the border in Mexico. And I would notice halfway through our painting the house, sort of the people in the home who we were painting the house for, sort of looking out the window, you know, at us, like, who are these people painting our house, basically? And I would sort of be the one who would want to go in and visit with them, right, and talk to them and understand more about their life. And so for me, I spent some time also after law school in Turkey after the earthquakes in Adapazarı and Gölcük. It was actually in my second year of law school. And same thing, I was doing quake relief, but where I really sort of found my heart pulled was a little boy on the ferry landing that I would have to take across the Bosphorus every morning. And he was a street child who didn't have a home. Forced to sniff glue and sort of peddle these little trinkets, and I think, you know, while the destruction of that area in terms of the natural disaster that happened with the earthquake was something that I was absolutely drawn to and wanted to help with, that very specifically in terms of the justice and the plight of this child is what I knew that I was created to help with, if I could, and to be a part of. Yes.
Wow. You do speak very actively about advocacy, but there's obviously a faith component as well. I mean, does your faith inform your advocacy, or does your advocacy inform your faith?
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting question, and I've been asked it several times, and I think that my answer is both. I think that I know who I've been created to be in Christ, and I think that's a part of all of the decisions I make along the way. But I also think it's probably a key motivator of the opportunities that I see, and of potential opportunities for us in going forward. So.
There's a wonderful image that someone gave me about students at Stanford. They said that they're like geese. They look very placid and calm on the top of the water, but the feet are always churning underneath. How do you seem to look so calm and put together when, you know, the knowledge of your background and what you're doing currently is incredibly active? How do you maintain a sense of balance in the midst of all the things you're doing?
Yeah, so finding balance is an everyday struggle for me. It absolutely is. With a 5 and an 8-year-old at home, carpool. I'm chairman of our fall family fair at my son's school.
Of course you
Bring
are.
something else on in the fall, and trips to Africa and sort of managing our portfolio in terms of what we're doing with the LRA. It is a substantial amount, but we've been very blessed with resources that have made that easier in a sense because I can bring my little ones with me sometimes. So my 8-year-old and I went to Archbishop Tutu's birthday. It was his 6th birthday, and it was Arch's 80th in South Africa. And we did a week of whale watching at the end, and so that was sort of work and Connor mommy time, which was amazing. And I'm a big believer in my children learning both in a classroom and learning sort of through what I've been blessed to see in the world and see unfold. Brody's here with me right now at the gathering. So,
and you said that your husband and your other son are doing something even while this is going on.
Yeah, so they're in a play. They're in our San Antonio production of Wizard of Oz. So Connor was cast as a munchkin and a flying monkey. He's very much more excited about the flying monkey part. Now that he's 8, he's very grown up. So I think the munchkin is a bit of a concession so that he can fly around the stage as the flying monkey. But Sam tried out with him, which I love, and so Sam got cast as well, and that's been a great bonding experience for them. So Brody and Mommy's have gotten a little bit more time together in this season, and he and Sam and Connor have. So that's been a real tremendous opportunity. And then last summer, most of my work is in Central Africa, out in the war zones towards a forward operation base where the military are based that are pursuing the Lord's Resistance Army. And it's so far away and it's time zones away. So we got creative last summer, and Sam and I took both the boys and we lived in Kigali, Rwanda. We have a little dirt plane that'll land out there into the forward bases. So I just commuted from Kigali out into the field. And so there were days that I could literally go to the field in the morning and be back home for dinner in the evenings, which is unheard of. I was on the same time zone as my kids. And
we're not talking about O'Hare and Hartsfield. This is dirt track, buzz the field.
It's landing, and exactly. It is a prayer every time we land, exactly, that we don't hit the wrong pothole or a bump that'll sort of flip us on our wing. But no, what an incredible opportunity, because my kids got to see Africa with their own eyes instead of having to see it through mine and understand where mommy goes. But also resources in that case provided us with an opportunity to be closer together, and for me to try to make it both work. So.
And this is what my mommy does. Mm-hmm. I mean, it answers a fairly large question as well.
It does, and that's been difficult, right? Because I've been journaling to both of the boys substantially, and I keep 2 different journals. My Connor, my oldest, is very sensitive, and so the way I talk about some of the horrific things I see to him is much softer. My Brody is a little more tough, and so in terms of maybe needing to sort of have the compassion stick every now and again, I've been much more sort of open in terms of what I see and descriptive, and I don't think I'll give that to those boys until they graduate from high school, but I'm really trying to have them know what mommy's doing. They look on a map. We have a little plastic map in our house, and they take these puffy Star Wars stickers that they have, and they'll ask me where Joseph Kony is, who they call Darth Vader, and they'll stick a little Darth Vader where we think he is, and then we have these little stickers that show where mommy is, and so they'll put it there. And I mean, I think
you're the Princess Leia.
That's exactly, of course. No, that's been a real fun thing to be the only woman in the house. Yes, those boys are great.
How do you, in the midst of that, Oswald Chambers said an unguarded strength is a double weakness. Mm-hmm. You've obviously got tremendous strengths which you're leveraging every day. How do you guard those, given the range of things you're engaged in? How do you make sure that those are guarded and resident and ongoing, sustainable?
Yeah. That for me, I think that where I get most of my oxygen is from peers that are doing this work with us, who I can, I place a call to my friend Pam, and we'll just sometimes cry on the phone after a news report, and we just understand without talking or saying to each other what's going on. But I also think that just recently in our work, the last 6 weeks, we've received 164 women and kids out of the clutches of the LRA, and That's our largest number by far, and it's been an incredibly emotional time, but it gives me, I think, a lot of the oxygen that I need for the next battle, right? For the next push, and it reinforces that strength in a powerful way, and I know that's also God doing that for us, just really solidifying for us where we are and what's next for us.
For you with Bridgeway, as CEO of Bridgeway, is this the primary action right now for Bridgeway, or are there some other global issues for which you're paying attention to and getting active in?
So what we decided to do was our mission statement talked about a world without genocide and about stopping conflict on the globe. And it just felt like when we were piecemealing that and doing so many different conflicts on the globe, we weren't really stopping anything. We were kind of coming in afterwards and helping rebuild, which was incredibly important, but we weren't stopping anything. And so we decided we were going to focus on one conflict in terms of actually trying to stop it. And I thought it would be quite a bit easier. I called it low-hanging fruit. It has been nothing of the sort. Probably never is, right? But that's what we do mainly. That takes up about 75% of my time with Bridgeway, and then we have continued to serve on the elders board and some of those
Tell me a little
other.
bit about that. I mean, you're in a very privileged place to have a chance to be with some of the wisest, basically foreign diplomats our generation has created. Jimmy Carter, Desmond Tutu, Nelson Mandela was certainly a part of that. Mary Robinson. What has that been like to be associated with that group?
Yeah, no, I mean, what a blessing for me as a person whose heart beats fast about justice, to be sitting amongst these folks. And literally we meet twice a year, and there's 20 of us in the room at any given time. And to be able to sit and to listen to them debate current and hard issues, and to hear how they think about these issues, and to learn from them has been an extraordinary privilege. And then it's really unique because there's about 10 of us that are involved that aren't on the Elders Council but are philanthropists. And so a lot of times there's opportunities that will arise in those discussions that then we as philanthropists can try to take and take to the next level. And that's been a true privilege. And then an unexpected blessing in that has been, you mentioned President Carter and Archbishop Tutu. So we share a similar faith. And it's been pretty remarkable. At one point, at one of our elders' meetings, Archbishop Tutu invited anyone who wanted to a Sunday Mass where he would give communion. And he asked me to do the reading during that Mass. And that's that's a top 10 sort of ever in my life, I think, moment in terms of where my work and sort of these people who I have so much respect for in our field, and my faith sort of converged in a single moment, and it was truly a gift. And then President Carter's wife and I have exchanged some letters about the state of the world. Rosalind's an amazing woman, and as a believer, I've often in my lower times sort of asked her how she's sustained the fight, right, and how she's kept going, because it often seems like the world's just getting worse and worse. And God and I wrestle about this, or I don't know if God's doing any wrestling back, but I'm certainly wrestling. I'm a bit of a wrestler.
Watch out, he's a pretty good wrestler, exactly, too. Last time I checked, like, hips go out of joint.
Joke's on her. And that's, it's just been lovely to speak to someone like Rosalind and President Carter about that specifically, and about how they've sustained their faith in the midst of these incredibly difficult situations and the things they see, and to learn from them. There's community in that, and it was unexpected community, so it's been
well, Shannon, we are so delighted that you would have a chance to spend some time with us, to be here at the gathering, and we're anxious to hear what you have to say in these breakout sessions as well.
Okay. Thanks so much, Steve. Appreciate it.